Bienvenidos al Ecuador, or welcome to Cuenca. Now, here, I always like to begin here in San Sebastian Plaza. From here we could begin to put the pieces and puzzle together the history of Cuenca. But here in San Sebastian Plaza, if you look at the beautiful building that you've already visited, today is the Municipal Museum of Modern Art. Back when it was constructed in 1876, Cuenca, we had a bishop here in Cuenca. His name was Miguel León Garrido. This bishop, he had a vision for Cuenca. He's also the bishop responsible for having the new cathedral with the blue domes designed. So he was a modern bishop. When he had this constructed, the architect, the German architect priest Juan Bautista Stiel, he's responsible for constructing this beautiful building. Not just this one though, he's responsible for constructing numerous constructions here in the historic center of town. And we're going back into the 19th century, throughout the 19th century. La Casa de la Temperancia, the House of Temperance. People who drank excessively, they were placed here back then. So, it was way before Bob and Bill. Well, Bill and Bob, 1876. But people back then said, wow, well, he's putting people who drink excessively? People gave him a nickname, El Obispo Loco, or the crazy bishop. But it functioned as that for a 20-year period. In 1896 to 1978, it functioned as public, private institutions. And there was a period of time it was completely deteriorated. It was in very bad conditions. So a group of Cuencano architects back in the late 1970s, they get together with some Cuencano businessmen. And also there was a Cuencano artist who lives in Spain, Mr. Crespo. They get together and they get the funds with the town council. They start the restoration. In 1981, the doors open up as the Municipal Museum of Modern Art. Now, the curator of this museum, her name was Eudoxia Estrella. She was a great woman, a little grumpy, but great. See, you look at that beautiful home there, here, that's her home. And that's Eudoxia Estrella's home. She passed away about a month and a half ago. But she was a great woman because when this opens up as the Municipal Museum of Modern Art, she was the director of the museum. And Eudoxia Estrella, she's the one who she started promoting to start the biennials here in Cuenca, Ecuador. So in 1986, they started the first biennial of art here in Cuenca, where back then it was just Ecuadorian artists. And the themes were different. It was just like a canvas painted on ice. Now, as you visited already, you've seen the different exhibits and the different forms of expression. So let me get back to Eudoxia Estrella. Now, Eudoxia Estrella, she passed away. She used to feed the pigeons. Everybody knew her for that. But she was married to a Spanish stained glass artist from España, Guillermo Larrazabal. This stained glass artist is responsible for numerous stained glass artwork in churches throughout the country and also for private homes. Now, Guillermo Larrazabal passed away in 1983. A little later, once we visit the new cathedral with the blue domes, I'm going to show you Guillermo Larrazabal's stained glass work. So you can see from San Sebastian, Eudoxia Estrella, Guillermo Larrazabal. But if you go back in time in the 19th century, there was a famous religious art sculptor. His name was Gaspar Sangurima. We find a lot of his religious artwork in many of the churches here in Cuenca, in Ecuador, and a great deal of his pieces, they sit in private collections. The Bishop Miguel León Garrido, he also used to live here in San Sebastian. But here in San Sebastian Plaza, there's a tragic love story that happened. In the 1730s, the French Geodesic Mission of Paris, they come here to do the measurements of the meridian line. One of the doctors in this mission, Jean Senigueres, he came ahead of the team to Cuenca. While he was here, since he was un doctor de medicina. Manuela Quesada's father was sick, so the doctor cured him. But Manuela Quesada, she was engaged to be married. She had a fiancé. So this doctor arrives in the 1730s, cures her dad, but during this process, they fall in love. But what happened? When they fall in love, Manuela Quesada's fiancé didn't like that idea. You know, so there was a duel in this plaza, San Sebastian, and the French doctor was killed throughout this duel. Pistols. In the 1730s, here in San Sebastian Plaza. But also another very important event that occurred here, November 2nd, 1820, the group of men from the independence movement, they gathered together here at San Sebastian Plaza. Then early in the morning, November 3rd, 1820, they go down to La Plaza Mayor. That's when the Spanish retreat. So that's an important date in Cuenca, the independence from the Spanish, November 3rd, 1820. In San Sebastian Plaza today, look how beautiful the plaza is. Now, the town council of Cuenca, for example, in the 1970s, when those architects, when they begin doing the restoration, they also start realizing the importance of the architectural heritage Cuenca has. So back then, those team of architects, or those Cuencanos who take a concern for the preservation and the conservation, they start doing an initial inventory of the structures in the historic center of town, of the buildings, with a little history of the buildings. So then they place this on the list of Cuenca becoming an Ecuadorian heritage site, which later on we became, in 1999, a World Cultural Heritage Site. So one of the reasons is the historic center of Cuenca was declared a World Heritage Site. But everyone it's the entire city, but this is what we have to conserve in the centro. So we have a lot of great men, like Miguel Moreno comes from a very prominent Cuencano family. Okay. And Miguel Moreno, he was a poet. There's a lot of Cuencanos who have become lawyers, doctors, journalists, poets, priests, with like the bishop, but they've impacted the overall history of all of Ecuador. And they were from Cuencanos, which is why in some guidebooks you read Cuenca, the Athens of Ecuador. It's because of those great men. So many squares and many areas throughout the city, we have monuments of these great men. This is Miguel Moreno. Educación. That's the University of Cuenca College campus. The University of Cuenca was founded in 1867 by a Cuencano. Well, he was one of the founders, Luis Cordero. It started functioning here in the 1950s, the space that we see it today. A little later on today, I'm going to show you where the University of Cuenca used to function. Oh, okay, cool. More in the historic center of town. Oh, okay. Yeah. Back then, it was either you were a lawyer or you were a doctor. That was it. Yeah. Now there's a whole bunch of different career choices. Nice. Yeah. But it's funny because in the 19th century, there was a German who came to visit Ecuador. He said in Ecuador, there's a lot of lawyers and doctors and priests, or a nun. In that direction, all the way on top, the little church, that's the lookout point of Turi. Right now they're doing a restoration of the actual space of Turi. It's going to be nice. It's going to decongest traffic and everything. But it's a beautiful place. They have nice restaurants. To be at Turi and to see Cuenca on a nice clear day is beautiful. Yeah. This is one of the exhibits of the Biennial of Art. Throughout the entire city of Cuenca, in many of the spaces that we have, they have different artists with their expressions. This one looks pretty cool to me. Some of the ceramic pottery that we see looks like replicas of archaeological pieces found in different cultures. This town council of Cuenca has done great things. Okay, this is the wisdom of our people and the people in the campesinos in the countryside, and the bioculturales, bioculture. That's why they have the pieces. Okay. If you go into a museum, they have a cool museum if you like. If you're into archaeology, the Museum of the Aboriginal Culture. That'll give you a complete different context of archaeology in Ecuador. It's on Calle Larga. When you if you give me your WhatsApp,
yes, I will.
I'll send you the links. She's in a window, like trying to be seduced.
Right.
Now the creator of these pieces here is Eduardo Moscoso. This is Eduardo Moscoso's home and one of his galleries also. He's very, he creates different art.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you here. Look at the Medusa.
Oh, wow.
Sí. Eduardo, ¿cómo está? Eduardo, mandárame la ubicación para más tarde, por favor. Eduardo Moscoso, he's created some beautiful paintings. He has a painting of a Schwa that he just painted 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters. And I have a friend, she fell in love with it. She said, Martin, I want it. That's it, I want it. She didn't ask, I'm like, well, let me ask Eduardo how much it is. I don't care, I want it. So he wants $350 for it.